I'm Mary Keever. I'm our interim head of school at Westchester Country Day School. We are thrilled to see so many smiling faces here tonight. I want to start off by congratulating you on your job as a parent. Right now is the most difficult time to parent, and do not let your parents or your in-laws tell you differently. We are dealing with challenges and temptations and opportunities that didn't even exist when our parents and grandparents were parenting. So kudos to you. I'm thrilled to invite you to our third parent education series on childhood literacy tonight, and want to share with you all of the wisdom and warmth and enthusiasm of this amazing team. And Blair Hawley, our head of lower school, will introduce them all.
Thank you, Mary, for that warm welcome. And I'm just so thrilled to see you guys here tonight. I'm going to just go ahead and preface, we lower school teachers, we like to make things interactive. Now, understand, you may not want to participate, and you may have thought you were coming here just to listen, but I'm going to make it optional. I encourage you, the things on the table, the things that these teachers are going to, and educators are going to show you, I encourage you to participate as much or as little as you like, but we like for you to participate. So I hope that you'll have a little fun tonight, and that our main goal is that you'll be able to take away at least one nugget. I hope you take away 100 nuggets of things that you can take home to practice with your child and enjoy that process of learning to read and learning to write. But I'm going to start with a little interaction here. In your head, I don't want you to say it out loud. Read these 5 words. Did I give everybody enough time? All right, now let's say them out loud. Though, thought, tough, through, and thorough. Now, all of those words had something alike in them. What did you notice? They all have the O-U-G-H. Did any of those make the same sound? No, this is why the English language is so hard, and why learning to read in the English language can be a challenge. So know that if your child is struggling, it's okay. It's meant to be hard. But since you were all able to read that, you can thank a teacher today and thank your parents, because they probably helped you as well be able to understand when to say the O and the ah and the uff and the uro sound, right? Because they're all different. All right, before we go there, I wanted to introduce our panel here. I'm going to actually start with Roberta Burton. She is our guest from the High Point Public Library. So she does community relations, and we've had some special time with her with our kindergartners. She's helped us with our kindercard program and getting all of our kindergartners library cards to the High Point Public Library. So we're glad to have her this evening. And then I'm going to go in order of the grade level that they teach. So we're going to start with pre-K, our pre-K team. And if you can stand and wave, we have Catherine Yarborough and Chelsea Beck. And then for our kindergarten team over here, we have Emily Mercadante and Ashley Welder. And Emily is also our assistant head of lower school. Our first grade, half of the team is Ellen McEnany. And second grade, half of the team is Marla Seeley. And then we have Lisa Meyer-Braun, who's our academic support specialist, who's also Wilson Reading Certified. And over on this side again, we have Maria Ashburn, who is actually our 5th grade teacher, who gets to reap the benefits of all the things that we do in pre-K and 2nd grade to put all the pieces and puzzles together to talk about what we're reading. But she is also representing the Jamestown Library Guild that she's a member of. And then we also have Amy Caputa, who is our library media specialist here at Westchester. And of course, I'm Blair Hawley, head of lower school. So thank you to this wonderful team. I get to say it all the time, how exciting it is to get to work with all these people and go in their classrooms and see the magic that they do every day. It is really incredible. All right, so the next thing I wanted to introduce, something that you may or may not have been hearing about, is the science of reading. Raise your hand if that has been a buzzword at all that you've heard maybe in the news or hearing about. Okay, so 1, 2, that's great. Well, good, we're going to teach you a little bit about it. But I would say if you're involved in education, the science of reading is a big buzzword right now. One thing that we did as a faculty last year, And one thing that we do every year is all of our teachers are all about learning and growing. We don't expect to be stagnant and think that we know everything just because we have a college degree that says we're an elementary educated certified, right? So we always want to be learning and growing. And that's what I love about the culture here at Westchester is we always want to be better, right? So one thing we do is called learning teams, and those are things where faculty choose things that they were interested in and wanting to learn about, and then they invite other faculty to join alongside them to want to learn as well. And last year we said, you know what, I think we want to learn a little bit more about this science of reading. And boy, I'm so glad that we had a learning team. A lot of the people you see up here were on that learning team, and we learned a lot, didn't we? But one thing we did get affirmed with is that we're already doing a lot that aligns with the science of reading. And so that was a really good feeling that our practices and how we teach reading and literacy development were already with that science of reading. But it also taught us some other good things that we could add and make us even better. So that's why we wanted to present to you about literacy, because we were so excited when we learned about this last year. We got to tell everybody about this so that you guys can get on board with the science of reading as well. So what is the science of reading all about? So if you hear that buzzword, we're not going to go into the nitty gritty of it because we understand you're parents, you just need to know like very surface level. All of us, we're going to get really deep. We're going to go like the dark depths of the ocean level with science of reading, but you just need to know surface. If someone says that, oh yeah, that's good stuff. If they're doing science of reading, that's right in line with what it needs to be. But it's from decades of scientific research. You may be surprised that sometimes things in education weren't necessarily researched, but science of reading has been decades of research about how the brain works, how the brain learns letter sounds, how the brain puts those sounds together to make words, how we put those words together to make sentences, and how we put those sentences together to make paragraphs and stories. So that research has really been key in changing the way some people have taught. And we want to be doing what our brain does, right? What makes sense for what our brain needs. The other thing that is a very key part of the science of reading is a systematic phonics instruction. Now, I know a lot of you are similar age in me, so you probably remember those commercials for Hooked on Phonics, right? Okay, so phonics is probably a familiar term to you. That's something that is really key in including in the science of reading, and it's something that we've been doing since I've been here for 16 years. We've been doing phonics. And we want to make sure it's systematic, that it makes sense going from one thing to another. It's not just willy-nilly phonics. It's a really good system of how we teach phonics, building upon one skill to another. And then the third facet for you as a surface level as parents is about prevention and intervention. So what we want to do is make sure that we're intervening early. If we're recognizing that a child is not meeting certain benchmarks, we want to intervene, because the research shows if you intervene at pre-K, K, first and second grade, those children will go on most likely to be very successful. And not to brag, but I've been here for 16 years and I've yet to know a third grader who's left third grade not reading. So these are things that we know work, and when we intervene early and we have resources that the teachers can identify through assessments and see what does a child really need to learn? Where are those deficits, and how can we fill in those gaps with tools and strategies to really meet those needs? And then having resources like our academic support specialists that can dive in even more deeper and help those children, we feel like we can really help get the kids success. And your job as a parent to say, we think your child might need a little extra boost. Will you be willing to help us? Would you be willing for us to do that? Your job would be like, yes, I want you to do that with my child. It's not a bad thing, because most children, by the time they're in third grade, they're successful readers. And that's what you want, right? All right, so now you can take a quiz on your science of reading. You know it, right? Okay. All right, the other thing that, again, this is all a lot, but these are all the things of the science of reading that we want to incorporate into a literacy instruction. Again, we don't expect you to know this. This is what an educator would do. And we want you to be educated so that when you're thinking about, what is my school doing? right? It's going to be aligned with the science of reading. So includes the facet of word recognition, which a lot in our early childhood is focusing on decoding. That's the actual of sounding out of words. Phonological awareness, those are the talking about sounds. You're hearing them talk about rhyming words. And then sight recognition, because as we know from that very first slide, not all words in the English language make the same sounds. And sometimes you just have to memorize words. And that's going to, if you can memorize some of the words and what they look like, then you're going to be a more fluent reader. So that's one part of the beautiful woven rope of skilled reading. And then the other part is all about language comprehension. So building that vocabulary knowledge. You can talk to your children. That's how you build vocabulary. Use big words. You'd be surprised what they can pick up. Background knowledge. Taking your children to different places, to the parks, to the museums, to libraries, giving them understanding of the world around them. Nonfiction books are really good too to incorporate, to build background knowledge. When you can't go to Egypt, you can read about Egypt, right? I would love to go to Egypt. That would be really cool. Language structures, how our language works, again, about sentences and how you get put it together. Literacy knowledge and verbal reasoning, those two things get woven together to be able to be skilled readers. So again, just no test on that one, because that one was really tough, and I went through 7 years of college to learn that. So, all right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to invite each one of our friends up here to be able to give you some practical strategies that you can do at home. There are baggies on the tables, and then all the little tools that they're going to talk about. I would say most of them, some of them we didn't have extras of, but you can put things in the baggie, take home with you. All of these resources that you see, except for the scissors. I would like to keep the scissors. Imagine those go missing a lot in the classroom. So if any of that is welcome for you to take home with you and then be able to use for your child at home. All right, so next up we're going to have Mrs. Wilder.
Okay, so I wanted to speak a little bit about phonemic awareness, and this is the ability to notice and think about and work with individual sounds, or the phonemes, the smallest parts of our spoken language that combine to form words. So we do daily activities with this in our pre-K, our kindergarten, our first grade, to help the children just get really fluent with these skills. So this is going to involve skills like segmenting sounds. So if I say the word pig, they say back to me, pig, so that they're separating each sound. Then we do the opposite, where we blend sounds. So I might say, I will say the word slowly, and then they say the word correctly. So if I say dig, they say dig. We also play games where they delete sounds off and tell me what's left in the word. Then we change sounds to make it into a new word. So just all that manipulation of hearing that spoken language. And we do this through some fun games. So one of them is called the roller coaster game. So they use their hands like a roller coaster car, and the first sound is at the bottom of the roller coaster, the vowel sound is in the middle of the roller coaster, and the last sound is at the end. And so we get our hands ready, and they copy the word after me. So maybe the word is cup, and they say cup. And right now, we're working on isolating the vowel sound, so they will put their hand back up and say, you says, because they can hear it as they segment those sounds. So I thought we'd try one together, if anybody wants to try it with me. So let's do rib. So we'll all say rib together, rib, ib, and then they isolate, is the vowel sound. But maybe you're working on isolating the first sound, and that's fine too, but we do a lot with vowel sounds because that's something that they need to get stronger with. We work on rhymes. I know that pre-K said that they work on rhymes in their phonemic awareness, and they do a thumbs up, thumbs down. If they provide 2 words, and if the 2 words rhyme, they do thumbs up, and if they don't, they do thumbs down. In kindergarten, we're kind of scaffolding, beyond that, and so we will say, okay, we're going to think of all the words we can think of that end with I'm, and so they say time, rhyme. And they can be nonsense words that aren't real words, and that's fine too, but it just helps them manipulate language and hear what sounds the same at the end. And so there's a few other strategies that I wanted to, is this one I should share? Not from
Wait.
No, wait on that. Okay. So those are some of the strategies that we use here at Westchester. We use a particular program called Hegarty, but you don't even need to know that. It's a great program that a lot of schools use, but it provides a lot of just daily work, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes. But you could do this in the car. You can do this at dinner while you're waiting for the food. Just simple ways that you can play with your kids to solidify those skills.
All right, so can you hear me? Am I too short? No? Okay. Ms. Welder just talked about phonological awareness, which is just the listening part of reading. It doesn't include any written portion. The next little while, we're going to talk about written portion, and as Ms. Holly showed us earlier, a lot of English words are very hard to sound out. So we spend a lot of time in pre-K and kindergarten and first grade talking about the letters and their sounds and how they make words. And then we introduce words, or we expect children to read a word like of, right, where neither one of those letters makes the sound that we expect it to make. So one thing that we have implemented in kindergarten to help practice sight words. So first of all, sight words are words that children can read by sight. They might be called trick words, they could be called heart words, they might be called high frequency words. High frequency words are just words that are seen often in reading, and we want those to all become sight words that children can see without having to think about them, right? It used to be when we were growing up that we would memorize these words. Now what we're learning is we don't have to memorize them. We can actually read them. So on your table, I have a paper. It says the 109 power words. This is a research list of words where the top 13 words make up 25% of the words in children's texts. So if your children can read those first 13 words, they're off to a great start. All 109 of these words make up 50% of the words in children's texts, in the books that children read. And so Ms. Welder and I have decided the past couple years that we are going to pull our sight words from this list. So here's a couple ways that we do that. We have found that children love poetry. We know that. She was just talking about how we work on rhyming, and so we use poetry notebooks in our classroom. And so we start with a poem of the week, and we look through that poem and we think, which words are important? Which ones do we see on this 109 list of words? And then how in the world are we going to teach kindergartners to read that word? And so what we've done is, and I pulled a couple examples, but I don't know what to do. Can I walk over here? Can you hear me? Okay. Take the microphone. Okay. Is that okay? Okay. So let's say in the in the poem, we see the word you. And children know that the Y says y, right? We know that. And the Y in this word is saying exactly the sound that we expect. But then all of a sudden, OU doesn't say ah and right? It says ooh. And that's an unexpected part. So we call that a heart part, and we tuck a little heart underneath it, and we say, we need to remember that part in our heart. And when we put this word on our word wall, it actually has a heart under the OU, so that when children see it, they think, oh, when I see this word, I know the Y says you, but the OU is a different sound. So it helps them, it kind of triggers that memory that that's the part of the word that they need to remember. There's another word, will. Well, in will, it's completely decodable. The W says w, the I says it, and the L says ooh, just like we expect. And so we call that a green word. It means go. You don't have to think any differently. Every letter is saying what we expect it to do. And the last one is, because of course when S is at the end of a word, a lot of times it says zzz, because that makes sense, right? So that's a little heart part. And we need to remember that when S is at the end of a word, sometimes it does say zzz, right? And so once they learn is, though, then they know has and his and other words like that, was, which is another conundrum because the A doesn't say it says but we have found that this heart word way of teaching has really helped students become confident in reading these sight words instead of just memorizing them, right? They have something to fall back on. They feel confident that they are able to sound out most of the word and that there's just one little part that they have to remember in their heart. And we've had a lot of success with that. So if your child was in kindergarten last year with us, they went through kind of the heart word method. If your child was not in kindergarten at Westchester last year or this year, it's not too late, right? If they're struggling to remember a word or they've got a trick word in second grade and they can't remember a sound in it, you can look at it and think, oh, well, this makes a sound that it should, this letter makes a sound it should, but all of a sudden, O-U-G-H is saying uff, right? And so that's the only part that we have to remember, just the tricky part. Everything else is highly decodable. So anyway, just a little tip. Oh, okay, yeah. You have index cards on your table and the list of 109 power words. So what I did was I just picked two. I picked on, which is a green word because both letters say exactly what we expect them to. And then I picked was. And for was, I just put my little heart part under the A because it doesn't say like we expect it to, or A like it sometimes does. It says which vowels can say. It's called a schwa, but we do have to remember that it makes that sound. I did not underline the S because we've already learned the S at the end of a word can sometimes say Z, right? So for was, in my classroom, it might just look like this, where just the A has a heart part under it. But you're welcome to take some flashcards with you or use the markers and make a couple of heart word cards for yourself or your child.
Hello. We are also using multisensory instruction, and one of the things that I like to do in my pre-K class is arm syllable counting, and we usually start by using the month of the year that it is. After we spell it out together, then we hold out our arm and we tap our arm for how many syllables are in a word. So for February, example would be February, and the children know that that's 4 syllables, and it's just helping them to understand how all of these little parts of words fit together to make a bigger word. And they also love to count how many syllables are in their name, their teachers' names, their families' names, and so that's something fun to do with them. And a lot of times we'll say, if you have 2 syllables in your name, it's time to line up at the door, or if you're 1 syllable, you may line up, and so it's fun to talk about syllables with them.
How I feel about a microphone. My voice is loud enough as it is. Sorry. I'm Ellen McEnany. I teach first grade, and here we have our Foundations is the program that we use. And what is so great I love about first grade is that this is kind of when it all comes together, and we're moving and we're shaking. And I think now we have a lot of first grade parents as I look around, and we just had our conference time, and they all said, we can't do homework with our kids anymore. They know what a digraph is. They know what a consonant blend is. They know what this is. And that makes us so proud because we're teaching them what a bonus letter is, and we're teaching them all these other things. And the parents don't even know how to do it. And we said at conference time, just let them do it. They know what they're doing now. And that makes us feel so good. So this is why they know what they're doing, and it is a multi-step process. So, of course, we know when children write things, it automatically sticks in their mind. But before they can even write them, they've got to know these sounds. And we have these boards that are fantastic. So they can take these letters down to spell things. They can see a consonant is C, a vowel is A. It's a different color. I'm going to step out here. It's a different color. Then they've got the endings so we can build things. Then we will often say to the kids, tap it out. Parents hear that 100 times. So the kids will tap it out. Cat. And it really makes a difference. First of all, it has the children, they slow down enough to say the sounds. And because most of the times they're moving a lot, right? Especially at our age, down here at our age. So to really tap it out really helps. If their little fingers don't work, they can go down their arms. act. A lot of kids we have like to go, act. I mean, it's however they like to do it. And that's helpful to them to just move, to see it, and then when they get to the point where they can write it, to write it. Practicing writing is a whole nother step, and so often we will give parents clues to how to practice writing stuff. When they're studying words, it's usually late at night and they're tired, some suggestions that we have are we write in the sky. I'm gonna turn around. And then a skyline would start at the very top and come down to the ground. If it goes below the ground, it's called a worm line, but not everybody uses the paper that we use. But you get the whole point. You start in the sky, you come down, sits on the ground, that type of thing. We write like that in the sky. A lot of times I will get parents to put shaving cream on the bathtub and they can practice words in the bathtub. Another great thing is sidewalk chalk, because then that really helps with their fine motor as they hold this chalk and then they can hold, and they'll start really big and then they can progressively get smaller as their fine motor skills get better. Our kids love a hopscotch, so they love and that's getting them moving. Anything that's going to get them moving. In class, I will often have them exercise it. So we have, our consonant, vowel, consonant words, and somebody is in charge of picking an exercise, and we might march it, we might clap it, we might, twist it, we might shake it. But it's hard. You'll actually see it on their face. They're concentrating. But it sticks. And then I'll say, okay, now write. And they write it on the board. And then we move it, and then we write it. Or actually, we tap it, then we move it, then we write it. So that is what I would suggest when you're studying for either spelling words or anything is, look at it, say it, hear it, move it, use all of your modalities, and it just makes it stick. So, there you go.
So just piggybacking on that idea of just using that multisensory idea to make things stick, just make those things fire even better. I discovered this little trick that works really well for some students. So you can do it, as an auditory drill, just out loud. But a lot of times, kids come across a word in a book that they don't know. And so it's a word that can be sounded out, but maybe they're really struggling with making the sounds. They can make the sounds, but then they can't blend it into the correct word. And so you think, well, you're making the sounds. Why can't you just say it? Sometimes that little firing thing is just extra tricky for some children. So we call this knots on a rope. And what I did is I just tied 3 little pieces of yarn together, and we put some out for you guys to make one if you'd like. And so if the child is looking at the word, let's say they're looking at the word bud in the text, and they're saying bud, but then they just look at you, and they want you to tell them what the word is, or they're guessing. I put this in their hand, and I have them hold it with their non-dominant hand and use their dominant hand to slide down as they're making the first sound. So they'd say b, and when they get to the knot, that note, that tells their brain, switch sounds. So b, d, and then they slide down bud. This is like magic. I kind of doubted it at first, and I thought, well, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to try it tomorrow. So I went, made the string, and was doing a small group and started working with some kids who could make sounds but not blend the words. And the very first day, they were successful with this. Now, that might not always happen, but it was just, we had tried many, many different strategies, but this tactile thing just makes it fire correctly for a lot of kids. So I highly recommend it if you're looking at a word and you want to see if they can sound it out, see if that works for them. Another idea is screenwriting. So this is the paper that Ms. Mack was just discussing, where we have these little symbols on the side, visual reminders for the children where certain letters touch on the line. So we have the skyline, we have the plain line going across the middle, the ground or the grass, and then there's the worm under the ground for letters like Y and G and P that are going to go under that ground. So in kindergarten, we use our heart words or our high frequency words or our sight words, whatever you may be calling them, and we write them on these crochet screens. So I just go to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, wherever, buy a big sheet of this and cut it into the size that I want that goes with my little half sheets of paper, but they come in a big sheet. Super cheap, you can go get one yourself. And then you can put any kind of paper on it. It does not have to be the paper that your school is using. It can just be plain white printer paper. But we use a red crayon because we're calling them heart words, and so we're just kind of, red words, stop, think about these tricky parts. So we use these big fat red crayons, and we write the tricky word that we're learning for the week. So tomorrow we're going to be writing the word your because it has, only the Y is starting to say its sound, and then the R at the end, but everything in the middle is kind of confusing. So we'll be writing your tomorrow. So we write it on the screen, and I have a little video here I can show you in just a minute. So we talk about how do you spell it, Y-O-U-R. So they write it, and then when they write it on the screen, it's making the crayon be bumpy on the paper. So after they practice it, I actually have them put the screen on top. They can still see their word through the screen, and they trace it with their finger. There are so many nerve endings in that finger that are sending messages straight to the brain. So they're going to say it out loud while they look at it, while they touch it, while they hear it. Lots of different ways to make it connect. Y-O-U-R, and then they slide their finger, your. And we do that repetitively. So we might do it 3 or 4 times in a row. And then they flip over their paper, and they have 3 more times to write it. Then put the screen back on top, trace it, spell it, say it. Then we pick up our paper and we arm tap it. I know Miss Yarborough was talking about some arm tapping they do in pre-K, in kindergarten. We will take this tricky word and they're looking at it. They're going to touch their arm and spell it, Y-O-U-R, your. And just this movement is making it all make sense to them, and they will remember this word much, much easier. I'm going to let you try to see anybody.
All right, so here's just a quick little, she basically showed you how to do that, but
When we teach red words, we have the kids use very specific tools. And one of the tools is a red word screen. First thing we have kids do after we've talked about the word and why it's a red word is we have them write the word on a slip of paper just like this over top of the screen. Once the student has their word written, then they can take their finger and trace over the letters that they wrote. The letters will feel very tactile or bumpy. The red word screen is really just one part of the process of teaching red words. We have the kid.
so that's just an example of how you can do it at home. If you couldn't find this at the craft store, there are anything bumpy and tactile is a great resource to do this sort of activity with. Even if they didn't even write it, if they just used their finger to trace those words on things. Dollar Tree is also a teacher and educator's friend, and there's like placemats that you can find at the Dollar Tree that are bumpy like that you can use. So anything that has that sense is multi-sensory. So I'm going to invite Miss Meyer Braun up next to talk to you about sound boxes.
Hello. As Ms. Holly said, I am the Wilson provider in the lower school, and so I get to sometimes work with some of these women's wonderful little students and some of your students, and I get the pleasure of maybe being one-on-one or in small groups. But a few of the activities that I do with them, I'm going to share, and one thing that some folks might be aware of are Elkonin boxes, and I'm just going to go ahead and show the video first and then just talk a little bit more about the sound boxes.
Elkonin boxes, video 1. How it works. Listen to the word on each slide, then help me say each sound in the word. Watch as I move my counters for each sound in the word. You can follow along at home. If you don't have counters, you can use 3 small blocks or Legos. You can draw 3 boxes on a paper. Let's begin. Sun. Say the word sun. Now let's say each sound. S, n. Let's move our counters. S, n. Sun. The next word is bee. Say the word bee. Now let's say each sound. B, E. Let's move our counters. E, B. Chick. Say the word chick. Let's say each sound. Ch, I, k. Let's move our counters. Ch, I, k. Chick.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it there. So I just wanted you all to see a few different examples of the use of those boxes. So you'll notice it does not have to do with the number of letters in the word. This is about phoneme, so the sounds that we're hearing. So with the very first one, it was 3 sounds. Then with the word be, right, there's how many letters in the word be? 3. But did they put down 3 counters? No, just 2, because B-E. And then the last one, chick, right? That has how many letters? 5, right? Well, but we're thinking about that digraph, ch, 1 sound, right? I, 1 sound, k, another digraph, CK. So this is all about the sounds. And as the woman said, you can use any kind of object to move into your boxes. And then I'm just going to show another, this one only shows 3 sound boxes, but you can get other templates. This has 4 sound boxes. And it is a good idea with the younger children to start with pictures and then move to the use of words to fill in your boxes with your sounds. And then you can even use, well, like letter tiles from a board, or if you just have some other letter tiles at home, use those eventually. And I think that's all I have. I'm not sure what's next.
Alconin boxes.
We don't need to hear it yet. Okay. Do you want me to do, what would you like me to do next? The pom-poms? Okay. All right. We're going to get our pom-poms. And Miss Leela is going to help me with this one. So this is something you can use for syllables, basically up to like, well, 2-syllable words. It's kind of a quick thing. And so you have your student in front of you. They're going to hold their hand out, or your child. And so I'm going to say this is male. This is man. What's the word? Man. Man. Okay. And then if I said, I take away man, what's left? Man. Okay, and then let's do another one. Okay, and so that one I kind of started with a compound word too. It's kind of easier to know your syllables. Let's do, this is nap. This is kin. This is nap, kin, napkin. Okay. Yay. All right, what if I, I'm going to take away nap. What do you like? Kin. Yeah. So you can use this for putting your syllables together, but also deleting and adding. And if you notice her, she was squeezing each pom-pom as she did it. So it's, again, that's sensory effect. Okay, do you want me to do, should I keep moving? Yeah. Okay, and then, oh, I have one made already. Okay, you'll notice you have pipe cleaners and some beads. And so you're welcome to make this next thing. So this is yet another way we can segment our sound. I know it might be hard to see, but I have about 5 beads on. And all you're doing is, I'm gonna, no, it's hard because it's moving now. But you want your beads, your child to start with the beads all the way on the right. And so if I started with the word dig, and then the child say the word is dig, tell me each sound. Duh, I, G, and then they would slide the whole word back over. Dig. Okay. So it's basically a bead for each sound. If you have a digraph, say like TH. So I say to the child, the word is thin. Tell me each sound. The, just the. I, and then thin. Okay. So here's your. And oh, the gel board. This one, I'm sorry, you all don't have them. The kids really love these. You can get them from the Wilson website. So this is a gel board, and I use these with my students for those sight words. So like was, or do, or does. And so what I have them do to practice was say, we're going to practice the word do. And they say each letter out loud as they're writing it. D, O, Ju, and then say the whole word. And so again, this is like that proprioceptive, that word is so big, but like Ms. Welder was talking about with the screenwriting, there's this, they like it, there's this gel effect to this, it's like a magic board when they're writing on there, they really like it. And then they can kind of erase it after it goes away.
You can also get a Ziploc bag and put shaving cream in it, and it does the same thing.
Yeah. Hey, I'm trying.
So I,
Some body writing. Yes. Okay, one more thing. Oh, and if you want one, if you maybe you need to feel like you need to get up right now. If you do, you can stand up, and I can do some body sound. We were laughing because we're calling this body sounds, but it's not like. But so we'll do. I'll show you. It's kind of like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? It just depends on how many sounds you have in your word. So let's start with, okay, the word dig. I think I mentioned that earlier, but we would start for our first sound, the, and then our knees, the, and then dig. Okay? All right, let's add another sound. All right, so we're going to do the word click. So, click. And then we'll do one more. So that kind of lands on the beginning. That's where we have two separate consonants blending together. I want to do one with a dialect. So our word is going to be wish. So we'll do right? So and then one word wish. So yeah, we just went to our knees on that one.
Yeah, I was right here.
One sound. Is that all of my accents? I think I'm like
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that goes. All right, here we go.
All right. This song is amazing. Everybody knows A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, element of P. Well, you know, that doesn't help us. And so it's, you know, kind of a pet peeve of teachers when the children come in and say element of P, but it's not their fault. It's just the way the song is and TV shows and everything. But kindergarten introduced pre-K to this wonderful new alphabet song. It's the Secret Stories Better alphabet song. And you can go online. It's on YouTube. It's just awesome. We were just going to play a little snippet of it, but it's so good because instead of just saying the letters, it also tells you what sounds they make, and it tells you if they make more than one sound, and it has actions, like for the long vowel sounds they do. You've probably already seen your children doing it, but it has the creator of the Better Alphabet, the secret stories that they use in kindergarten. But they also, you're seeing, if you watch the video, they're watching the letters to see how they're formed, and it's just, we'll just play a little bit. You can feel free to dance. Is it too loud? No, it's okay.
Hi, girls and
This is
boys,
Jack
teachers
Hartman.
and parents. I'd like you to meet a very special friend of mine, a wonderful educator, and the creator of
Okay.
Secret Stories.
Let's see.
Katie Gardner is...
Okay, there you go.
Secret stories explain the sounds letters make when they get together.
But I'm feeling proud.
I use my mouth muscles to say the sounds right. My eyes glued on each letter to know what they look like.
My eyes glued on each letter to know what they look like. Whoa, I love to sing along with the Secret Stories Better Alphabet song.
A says
A can also say A, A, A.
B says b, b.
C says K,
C can also say s.
D says D, D, D.
E says
E can also say E, E, E.
F says
G says G.
I think I got, okay. We could just go on and on. It's so fun though. Once you watch it once or twice, you'll be singing it all the time.
Yeah. And Jack Hartman is phenomenal. He's got a whole YouTube channel with all sorts of anything you want to learn about. And I was at home when we were stuck at home at COVID, and Miss Mercadante was my son's kindergarten teacher, and Jack Hartman. He's a favorite. He will always be. I will always be a fan. So we listen to it every day.
Okay, so we do the Better Alphabet song just about every single morning in pre-K. Your children probably come home singing it. It's, as you can tell, it's super catchy. Something else that we're doing a lot of in pre-K this year to kind of really make those connections with the letters and letter sounds is using environmental print. So environmental print is just that. It's the print that you're seeing in your environment every single day. It's signs, like for Dunkin' Donuts, Taco Bell, my favorite, Target. So we're using these things that the kids are seeing in their life every single day to really make that connection to these letters. So in pre-K, we're doing a lot of letter identification. Just about each week, we're introducing a new letter, and we use a letter people curriculum. But I have found great success this year in taking that letter people curriculum and applying it to the real world. So on Wednesdays or Thursdays, typically we'll say, guess what? I found, this week it's O. This week I found O in the real world. And the kids get really excited. And today one raised their hand and said, I saw Outback. The restaurant, I saw Outback. And I was like, you're right, you know? So we have these little picture cards that are in the shape of a letter, and they have lots of different pictures of signs and things in their real world. These are just some examples. But then I found that the next week, kids were coming to school and they were saying, guess what, Mrs. Beck? I saw that S with the arrow. I said, you did? And they said, yeah, it's a sandwich place. I said, you're right. But he remembered it was an S, and that had been a letter he had previously been struggling with. So he was able to take that S that he was seeing every single day on the school bus on his way to school and make a connection and remember that letter. So it has been a wonderful thing that we have added in the classroom just to help really build that connection, reinforce those letters, and it takes the learning that we're doing in school and the exposure to this print to the real world for them. So they're seeing these words, they're seeing these connections, they're understanding that, hey, I don't just read at school. I see this and I know this where it says Target, and now they're confident. So they're also becoming confident readers. They're seeing these things. It's helping to build their vocabulary. It's building their oral language. It's helping us in pre-K with their letter identification. It's making it stick, and they're proud of that. So that is one of my absolute favorite things as a teacher, is for them to start realizing they've learned something and they've mastered it and they're proud of it. So we're doing that in the classroom. We call it letters in the real world, because that's what it is. It's letters in the real world. So we talk about it, we make lists. Today we made a different list of the letters that I had, of the pictures I had prepared, because they had a wealth of knowledge and they were excited to share it. So it's really fun for us to do, but it's also super easy for you to implement as well, because you're in the car with them, you're cooking dinner, it's not just science, it can be maybe you're making pasta or something, and you can look at that box of noodles and talk about the letters on it. Hey, what do you see? You can talk about the words. So there's a few ideas of things that you can do at home or in the car, just in your downtime, in all your downtime. But even looking at license plates and recognizing, hey, do you see, can you find an E? And they can spot it and tell you where to see it. Or road signs. Signs for fast food, or in the store when you're grocery shopping together. Maybe you're trying to decide on what to buy, and you can kind of give them a task. Hey, can you find the letter P in these boxes? So these are just some super simple games that you can implement and practice. It doesn't have to be just letter recognition. That's just what we're really hitting it home with. You could also do it with syllables, like we've talked about, where you can see Starbucks, a few of my favorite things. You can play road trip bingo, talk about, hey, can you find these certain letters? On the tables, there is just a quick little paper with some examples of some environmental print, one for each letter. And then on the back, it's just a blank page. So you could turn this into a game if you wanted to. You could bring it with you if you're going on a road trip or something, and just have them draw a picture or write down a word that they see that starts with each letter. So we are really loving environmental print and helping build those connections in the classroom.
Back again. Just wanted to share some fun activities that oh, sure. This is, okay, the game Hangman. Well, that's kind of yucky sounding. So we've renamed it Mystery Friend. And what I do is I'll start with a child's name in our classroom, and I'll have them watch as I draw the number of spaces or a number of letters in that name, and we count them. And then the children will start. They'll raise their hand. I'll say, okay, what letter do you think is in there? And they'll say Z, and I'll say, no, sorry, Z's not in there, but good try. And so I'll draw the head. And so you're building a body. They're learning how to draw people, and so they keep guessing. And of course, I put the letter in. And usually when you get that first capital letter, they're like, oh, I know who it is. They get really excited. But this is a mystery friend, and this is something so easy you can do with them. Like if you're waiting for food at the restaurant, or waiting in the car, not driving but waiting, and parked, but. They love doing it, and you could do it with all the different people in your family. We even do teachers' names, and you could do color words, different things like that. But the thing is, they try to guess all the letters in the name before I finish my person, and I hardly ever finish the person because they're so smart. So it's just really fun to do with their names, color words, sight words, just all kinds of words. Another fun thing to do is, will you use some Mary? Oh, sure, thank you. All right. Another quick, easy thing, Dollar Tree. I know Miss Holly mentioned Dollar Tree is our friend. You can get little packs of sentence strips, and we have some that you can take also. But to start with their name in pre-K, we'll write their name on a sentence strip and just practice touching it and tracing it, and then we'll cut it in parts, and I'll say it's scrambled up, let's put it back together in order, and they'll do that. And then it's fun to say, well, give me a Y, give me the R, and it's helping them just remember those letters in their name. And then you can, you could do the names of their friends in their classes, or you could do the names in your family. And so I have Mary and Blair, and you can say, well, what letters do you see in this Mary that Blair also has? And they can say, oh, I see there's an A and there's an R, and they get excited when they make those little connections. And then we'll turn it to the back. you can take it a step further and make the name in 2 sets and then flip them over. I meant to have these flipped over earlier, or I think somebody might have flipped them for me. But anyway, you can just mix them up, and children love games. Sorry. Okay, but anyway, they're scrambled up, and you play it like memory. So, whoops, sorry. Okay, let's pretend they're really scrambled up. But anyway, it's best if you take a turn too. So your child would flip a card and say, oh, there's A, and then on the bottom row, they've got to try to find the A. Oh, what letter is that? And, just having them recall what the letters are. And then you be sure to take a turn too. And so that just makes it more fun. But those are just some simple games. The letter name, the memory name game, and then the name puzzles and mystery friend.
While Miss Selig's coming up here, one of my favorite videos for my son when he was little learning letters and talking about the environmental print, we got it on video, and he's going, O-R-G-A-N-I-C. And I said, what's that spell? And this is a carton he's holding. He went, milk!
Good evening, everybody. I see a lot of my second grade parents here, so I'm very excited about that, but welcome, everybody. I get the pleasure to talk to you really quickly about comprehension. Big old word, and a lot of students are like, well, what is that? So the thing about comprehension, a lot of people, and I tell my parents this a lot, the decoding part and what these lovely women talked about earlier, and then the comprehension piece, they go together. A successful reader has both. So you can do some things at home, and that's kind of what I want to go through with you really quickly. As you see up here, just want to let you know that on the table there is a handout. There are actually 2 handouts. I'd love for you to take that with you. It has this information that you see up on the slide, a little bit more detail, and then there is a sheet that has a list of questions that you can certainly ask your children. We encourage that when they're reading out loud to you, that you can ask those particular questions. So first thing I put up here is I said, make it fun. Make it fun for them. Talk about what's on the pages, especially with younger readers, just a beginning reader. They're obviously going to have books that have pictures in them. Talk about those pictures. What do you see? Talk about the colors on the page. Talk about the letters. The next thing is encourage making connections, and I think Mrs. Holly spoke about this earlier when she was introducing the program for tonight, about children connect what they already know to what they read, and it's about creating experiences. The more experiences that you do with your child, that will be reflected in their reading. And we use the word in second grade, and my second graders know this word. It's building their schema. So that's really important. When they're reading a book, if they can relate to something or an experience that they've had, they're going to have a better understanding of that book. Ask questions. Pretty basic. Who, what, where, when, and why. Make predictions. Ask your child, what do you think might happen next? Create mind movies. In second grade, we use the word visualize. Same thing, where they are visualizing maybe the events of the story. We talk a lot about, and you can point this out to your child if they're reading perhaps like a longer book with more text on the page. Look for words that are describing words, adjectives. Authors use those words to help readers visualize better. Definitely talk about the confusing parts. If you're asking your child the who, what, where, when, and why questions, if they are having trouble answering that, talk about it. Take a minute and discuss that. Have your child retell what they just read. And it doesn't have to be the whole book. Maybe they've read a couple of pages out loud to you. Stop, ask them to retell what just happened. Make sure that it's also in sequential order. That's really important. We talk a lot about how if we were going to retell a story to a friend or to a grandparent or mom and dad, whomever, that it's important that we tell that story in the right order. We certainly wouldn't want to tell somebody what happened at the end and then go to the middle and then go to the beginning. It would be very confusing. And the last one I put up here is to build confidence. And how you can do that is read out loud to your child. It's okay if they don't read to you all the time, except when it's homework. But on the weekend or just on a rainy day, spend that time. I know we're all so busy, but this is the biggest thing that you can do to help your child. Read out loud to them, spend time with them, asking these questions. I think you will see a big difference with that.
I get to do the fun part. I get to share wonderful books and literature with your children in the library. And these are just some tips that I thought I would share. A few things to help you as you are choosing books to read with your child. As Marla just said, how important it is to read with them when they're younger, from a very young age, and to continue that as they get older. Look for things that are age appropriate as far as content. Storytelling that's engaging, colorful illustrations, diverse characters, and rich language. And when you share books with children, and a lot of the children's picture books, it helps them to develop empathy. Things that children love in books. They love to find a series that they like and read the next one and the next one, and sometimes go back and start them over again, and that is okay. Animals, they love animal characters, they like heartwarming stories, they love humor, rhyme, which has been mentioned, the repetition, poetry. There are several websites. If you Google it, you'll find them. I'll click on a few of these just to let you see what's out there. This is just a website of great picture books, and they are organized by different topics, different themes. So it's just a comprehensive list. And then the other two are just how to choose books that are appropriate for your children at the different stages of development. So definitely Google those if you need guidance with that. And we have a display of books over here that I have labeled, books that have great illustrations, books that are funny, the different characteristics that I mentioned before. And children remember picture books that they love. I'm sure you do. That very first picture from Where the Wild Things Are, that was my favorite picture book as a child. I can remember it vividly. And that rich language. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. He sailed off through night and day and in and out of weeks. I can still remember hearing those words today. And that picture of his bedroom transforming into that forest. Picture books are powerful, and I think they're wonderful for all ages. That's why on the back, a lot of them say from age 0 to 99 plus. You can't go wrong. Thank you.
All right, so if you notice, at the top of this, I have the signs. I did not use the word warning signs or red flags because I want this to be more about thinking, where you might come to a point where you're kind of thinking about some of the things you're seeing with your child's literacy development. And I also like it because it's just you're breathing out. So I'm just going to play out some of these bullets, and I'm not going to read through them all. I'm going to give you kind of a moment just to look them over and then kind of discuss a few things. Okay, so in pre-K, some things. If there's a difficulty with rhyming or producing rhymes, difficulty in remembering rote information, such as letter names, and even including your phone number, their address, or sequences of numbers, or counting to 10 to 20. Those are some things that maybe you just kind of want to keep an eye on at that early age. And then K1, you'll notice kind of a little bit of repetition. That rhyming piece is still there. And you can take a minute to kind of just glance over these. A lot of this just has to do with phonological deficits, okay? And you might see some of these, you might see all of these, but really the key is they're hallmarks. And if you're seeing, I'll go to the next slide. If you're seeing these things consistently over a period of time, you might want to stop and think about getting an evaluation. And I will say a teacher cannot diagnose a reading disability such as dyslexia. Only a psychologist or a neuropsychologist can do that. And I believe they can access this presentation. So like I said, I'm kind of just going through this, but if you wanted to pull this up and print these out for a reference, you'll have those. But the one thing is, especially here at Westchester, the fact that we are teaching phonics based on the science of reading, and if they're starting early, they're getting what they need early on, but then it's also gonna be, if they're starting to have difficulties, it'll be easier to tease out what's going on because they've already been receiving instruction based on the science of reading. However, if you're still seeing some of these challenges, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, you might want to go and consider an evaluation. There's something. I just had a statistic I wanted to share. So the number of students with severe reading problems could be reduced to 7% or lower just by providing high quality classroom reading instruction in first grade. So again, that's why it's good we're doing what we're doing here. It's good that the students can get early intervention, which is really key. Another thing too to consider is if there are speech issues, they should be addressed early because they will, and that should, go see a speech therapist because that does affect the spelling and the reading as well. And I think those were all the key things I have to say about that. All right. Did you want that one or no?
All right, and so we've talked a lot about reading and literacy. Writing is part of that literacy process. And this is a real student, a kindergartner from last year. This was beginning of the year kindergarten, and a very typical where kindergartners are. They just kind of know letters. They don't know how to really write. They just put it down. You look at this and you would go, I have no idea what they are trying to say. But the kindergarten teachers can read it. Do you know what?
Well, this particular student I said, try to write something on the paper, and so she was looking around the room like, I wonder what I could do. Yeah, in September. And so she did see an A, so she on the wall, so she wrote an A in the picture, but the rest of it is just she knew that letters made shapes.
Yeah.
So
And you can see some of the letters are not even formed correctly. I'm not even sure. This is just a squiggle line. This is very typical development. Again, not alarmed. We got this, right?
We just take this sample so we can see the growth.
Yeah. This is the same student in April. And it's hard to see from far away, but this student says, once upon a time, there was a tooth. He lived in a mouth. One day, he woke up and he said, oh no, he had a cavity. The tooth went to the dentist. He came back and had a bandage. The little tooth was brushed. The little tooth lived happily ever after. The end. It's pretty amazing what these teachers can do, that they went from this to this in less than a year. So when you do these strategies, you put it all together, you support at home doing some just little extra things, it really does make a difference in a child's progress. And things like reading, You know, we won't ever know if you read with your children at night, except where we really will know, because a child who reads 20 minutes a day is going to read 3,600 minutes in a school year. That's 1,800,000 words. A student who reads 5 minutes a day is going to be 900 minutes a school year. That's 282,000 words. A student reads just 1 minute a day, that's only 180 minutes a school year. That's 8,000 words. So who do you think is going to score better on standardized tests, or who's going to have the stronger vocabulary? Honestly, we can tell that if you're not reading. We're not judging you, I promise. But we just encourage you to get on that reading train, because it really does make a difference in your child's life. And if your child's not ready to read yet, that opportunity to read with them is so important. It is one that strengthens the bonds. And I have to remind myself when I'm in the weeds of parenthood that, will you just go to bed, right? I know you've been there. Will you just go to sleep, right? But I'm just too tired. I just want to put on my pajamas myself. I know you've been there, but savor that moment, because you only have a short window of time that you do that before they're independent and they're grown and they're going off to college. Am I right, Mrs. Keever? So just remember, it's such a short window of time that you actually get to do that, and they won't curl up in your lap forever. So savor those moments so that you can strengthen those bonds and really give them success later on as adults. Last thing, I'm going to save the best for last for Roberta Burton from the High Point Public Library to come up and tell you, because we teachers and you as parents, you don't have to be the sole resources. We've got lots of resources out in our community, so we're going to share those resources as well.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Burton, and I am from the High Point Public Library in the Children's Department. Now I'm going to ask you a question that I asked kindergartners today when I was out. How many of you guys have been to the public library before? I knew it because I saw some of your faces in the Children's Department before. So what I'm going to talk about today are the resources that we have for you guys. We are your backup plan, okay? We are there for you, helping you for all your literacy needs, and not only that, making your children a well-rounded individuals out here in the community. I will have to brag on my job. The High Point Public Library brings the community together. We have awesome resources, and we have things that, as a 47-year-old woman growing up in the 80s, we didn't have in libraries. You know, you had to, shh, be quiet, don't say nothing, get your book and go. No, we don't have that. We don't have that. We want you to be engaged. We want you to be excited about the programs we have, and we want you to be in our library as much as possible. So I'm going to show you a slide. Thank you so much. I'm not good with MacBooks, okay? I'm a HP Dell type of girl, so it's right, yeah. Okay, so let's see, let me go down here. Oh, back up, sorry. Okay, we're going to start with the Children's Department. We are dealing with ages 0 to 12, okay? After 12, we send you upstairs to the 3rd floor to the teen garage. We're not talking about that right now because we're not dealing with teens. So, and I can't get this straight, but that's all right. Thank you so much. So we are starting with pre-K programs. These are for ages 5 and under, which we call our littles. And Monday through Thursday, we have something for them to do. We have yoga on Mondays with Julie. We have on Tuesdays story time. We also have a little social time on Wednesdays. That's when they all get together and ka and hoo and whatever they say to one another. And we have on Thursday music and movement, where they get to move and groove. So those are the things that we have, and those are at 11 o'clock. So for those of you that have little ones that are not in school, please come out and join us for that as well. Okay, thank you. Now, to the good part, school age programs. we have Pause to Read, and with Pause to Read, those are for our 5, 6, 7-year-olds. If you want to, but by that time they're not even interested in reading to our dogs. We have live dogs. We have actually Willie, who is Mary, our supervisor of the whole library. That's her dog. He is trained to be a companion and comfort dog, and so the kids come in, they bring a book, and they get to read to Willie or Lily Grace. She's found out yesterday she is a Labrador snickerdoodle, real cute. So they get to, and Willie is a Scottish Terrier. So they get to read for 15 minutes to them. They bring their own books in, and the kids get so excited, guys. They love it. We also are a certified, did you know that High Point Public Library, not High Point Public Library, but the city of High Point itself is a certified autism destination. We are the first certified autism destination on the East Coast. We are second in the United States to be certified, so we're very proud of that. With the autism, we have sensory story times for them. Also, as you know, with autism, some kids get a little bit overwhelmed. We as adults get overwhelmed. So imagine a child that's been diagnosed with autism. Sometimes things get overwhelming for them. We have what we call autism packs, which you'll go to any reference desk in the library, and inside those we have weighted blankets. We have signs that are like he or she can point to how are they feeling right now if they're overwhelmed. We have headphones for them. We also plan on having a sensory garden that everybody can enjoy, but especially those with autism, dementia, Alzheimer's, or anything else. We are having that garden, and we have broke ground on that, but I think they're going to start working on that this spring and summer, and that should be finished in the next 2 to 3 years. Let me see. We also have, for the little ones, before I go to Healthier You, we have something called Read 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. And so this program, we have this beautiful, chic bag right here. And inside this bag, we have the instructions. We also have this wonderful, we have a stamper, and this goes along, and you will stamp. This is your first one, the reading log 100. Now, of course, you know our little ones, and this is for ages 0 to 5. We're not able to read, so you'll be reading to them, but that counts, and you stamp. And when you get to 100, you'll come back in, and you'll see either me, Miss April, or Miss Deborah, and you'll be like, we're finished. And we give your kid a nice sticker, because everybody loves stickers. I love stickers, you love stickers, all of God's children love stickers. And so we actually, that's something that kids are proud of, their goal, like, wow, I read 100 books. So that's one of the things we do have. Also, we have a garden club, and we have culinary kids. These are after-school programs that we have starting anywhere from 3:30. Our last class will probably be about around 5 o'clock for some of them. And the kids go outside. If you've ever been to the High Point Public Library, we have this beautiful little garden out to the side. The kids have their own little section. They get to garden. They get to know about seeds and how to plant. We also have culinary kids that we have where we have our own little stove top, cooktop thing going on, and they get to create culinary dishes, and the kids love it. It's really great. And by the way, all these programs are free. That's my favorite word. Now, we also have monthly something called a story walk. And the story walk is something that starts off at the garden, and it goes around the whole public library, and you get to read a story at each station. Once you finish with that story, you come back into our department, and we give your child a gift or a treat, whatever we have that's going on. And of course, as you can see, yoga. And the kids love yoga. I love yoga, okay? So the kids love it. It's music and movement. Julie is a great yoga instructor, and she's a certified yoga instructor. She also does adult classes, by the way, if you ever want to see her online. And so the kids get to move their bodies, and it's also something that's very healthy for them as well. Now we have STEM. If you don't know what STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have robotics and Legos. Now I will have to, I'm going to give myself some props. I run STEM, and we have fun in STEM. We partner with 4-H, and 4-H comes out once a month, and we do all kind of great things that are STEM related. Last month we did roller coasters. We made roller coasters. The kids got to take a foam, some marbles, they did loops, and they perfected their roller coasters. They did predictions. We talked about velocity, all that stuff. And then also too, in June, right after school lets out, we have a STEM and robotics STEM camp. And so last year we were flying drones all over the library, so that was pretty cool. Let's see. We also have, for those that just want to unwind, we have, and this is our number one besides my STEM, is Nintendo Switch Club, and the kids love Nintendo Switch. I love Nintendo Switch. So it's something fun for them to do to unwind. We also have an escape room where they have a breakout kit, and they have to break out. If you see the little boxes over there, they have to use clues and learn how to break out of that box. We also have things for you guys. We have family board game night where the whole families come in and you play the classic board games like Operation and Connect 4 and Battleship, all those old school games that I remember. So it's pretty fun. The kids like that as well. We also have tune time where they get to learn how to play guitar, which is really great. They love that. Also too, we have, and I think this is going to pop up next. Well, no, it's not. Crafts and scrapbooking as well. We have our wonderful Miss Bronson, who basically does our crafts and our scrapbooking plus our Lego club, and kids get to use their creative side to do and create what they want to create. One of these days I'm gonna learn how to do this, I promise. Okay. Now, we're talking about our seasonal programs. These are programs that we have once a year. As you can see, there are many of them, from MLK, Groundhog Day, Dr. Seuss Day, Earth Day, Cinco de Mayo, Harry Potter Day, and Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. I'm a Trekkie, so I'm just like, whatever, but it is what it is. Star Wars Day, that is awesome though, because our former supervisor, Jim, he used to have, and we'll probably still carry on the tradition this year. He just retired in December. But we had all the Star Wars characters come out. They got to take pictures. We had this cute little girl, and I should have put it in the slide. She was probably about maybe 6 months old. They had her in the cutest little Yoda outfit. They had the Yoda ears and everything on her. She was so cute. We also have a spring egg hunt that you sign up for, and that's one of our big programs. The kids get to hunt Easter eggs. We have a public service day, touch a truck. We have a tie-dye event that's near springtime. We have trunk or treat. That's our biggest one. If you have been to the trunk or treat, you know that is everything. It's all hands on deck for that season. Kids come out. We decorate our car trunks, and the kids get to trick or treat in a safe environment. Plus, we have other things going on too as well. Before I get to Band Book Week, we have something called, we have our summer reading. Our summer reading is for all kids, 0 to 12, where they come in, you get to, you read, they stamp off every day that they read for 30 minutes or more, and They get to get prizes weekly, and then they also get to sign up for big prizes at the end. And some of the big prizes have been laptops, American Girl dolls, tickets to the Children's Museum in High Point. So there's a lot of fun things that they get to do. Band Book Week is the book week that we librarians love so much. That is, you know, the books that have been on the banned list, the naughty list, and we basically celebrate those books as well. You know, freedom of speech. Holiday Stroll. Holiday Stroll is also one that we celebrate around Christmas time, where we have our vendors. If you notice outside in our parking lots, from the months of April to October, we have a farmer's market. They come back out in December and pull out their goods, and we get to have all kind of fun things, take pictures with Santa, and you get to take pictures outside. You've seen our sleigh and our Christmas tree lit up out there. And farmer's market, as I was about to say, that is April through October. And we have the Power of Produce Club. The kids ages from 4 to 12 receive educational materials and crafts focusing on nutritional benefits of growing, cooking, and eating healthy foods and financial literacy. Children also receive 3 $1 tokens they can choose to spend on their own for a selection of fresh produce with participating vendors, or they can save their tokens for a future market. And kids can sign up for that. It's opposite, okay. We also have a bodega. I know you've seen this fly bus over here in our parking lot. That is our bookmobile, and our bookmobile goes out Wednesday through Friday to certain areas of the community. And with the bodega, and the bodega is our also our market, our fresh market bus, and they go out into communities that basically may not be able to get out to the High Point Public Library, and they get to check out books on the bookmobile, and they also get to buy produce. Opposite. And summer reading 2024. I had actually a parent come in and ask, when did summer reading start? They were already gone for it. This is our popular. While these teachers are resting because they have done a hard job all year, this is my season to work, okay? And as a former teacher, I have not gotten over not being, you know, taking my downtime in the summer. So this is like my grumpy season. But once I get out there, I put on my happy face. Summer reading 2024 starts June the 10th, and it ends August the 10th. And like I said, come in, you get to sign up. We also have, if you have older kids that are 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade, and you want them to be a volunteer, we call them junior friends, to come in and do a couple of hours in the library. They help with the summer reading. They also put away books. We teach them a little bit about the library. We do have those applications coming out probably in March. And they have to fill out an application like they're filling out a job. And after that, we go through and comb through and see which ones are the right ones. Mostly all of them, because we don't want to turn them down. And after that, we have a couple of sessions to teach them what they need to do, and they run the summer reading program. Yeah, I love it. And the kids are great. The kids are great. Junior friends, we just talked about that. We can go on about that. We also have take-home kits. For those of you who have been in the library, we have kits that you can physically take home for 3 weeks. We have STEM kits that have actual telescopes, chemistry sets. We have enrichment kits that have actual instruments. So we have guitars, ukuleles, drumming kits, African drumming kits, big kits, small drums, electronic drums, things that will rattle your nerves. We have it at the High Point Public Library for you to have at your home. We also have physical literacy kits, and that is for your soccer, basketball. all those type of things. We also have reading kits that will help with reading, math also as well. And these things are to round out your child to make them the greatest individual that they can be. We have, this is the program that you guys will love called Borrow the Experience. This is something that only a few libraries on the East Coast is doing, probably only like 3 or 4. This is where a family of 4 can get free tickets to certain events. For example, we have the museums all over the Triad, the High Point the High Point Children's Museum, the Caladium, the Downtown Greensboro Children's Museum, sporting events, a High Point Toms and the High Point Rocker Games. Theater, we just put in the Tanger Center, the High Point Theater. We also have the North Carolina Zoo. We have butterflies, the Olive Flutter. We have parks, our own parks. These are things that, as you know, if you're a family of 4, some of these things can get very pricey. So we try to accommodate so every kid can get the experience that they want. And all you have to do is sign up and make sure that your library card is in good standing, okay? And so, skip over that one. Now, this is me, kindergarten. If you've heard your child say, there was this lady with a lion, and she came to the school, or you saw a piece of paper that had about an application for a card, that is me. I come in to kindergarten, and I talk about the importance of a library card, and they get to rub Leo. As you can see, he's camera shy right there. That's me over there. That's Leo. And we come in and we talk about the importance of getting a library card and how to check out books and all that wonderful stuff. We can skip over that. We also do library field trips as well. And for teachers, if y'all need teacher packs, I know you have a wonderful librarian that probably has everything in here. But just in case you need a little bit more, we have some things for you. All you have to do is email me and say, Roberta, I need A, B, C, and D. We got you. And you can even do the kits, the take-home kits as well. Keep on going. And last but not least, we have online resources. So if you need homework help, if you need extra books, maybe you can't get out to the library, maybe you don't know X times Y equals 3, whatever, we have the online resources right here as well. And all of this information I have for you on this table right behind you, when you leave out, I will have for you. I have the monthly calendar. What's the good thing about it is we have a bit.ly QR code. You can just scan it. You can sign up for these things, for the programs. We also, if you need the online resources, all you have to do is go to the High Point Public Library page and go to the children's programs section, and you can just click on and see all our resources. Do we have any questions? All right, well, that's it. You're welcome.
So when we were planning this presentation, we said we could talk for like 4 hours, but we won't do that to you tonight because we promised 1 hour. It's already been 90 minutes. So I just want to say thank you again for coming tonight. I hope that you were able to give some nuggets that you're going to take home. We also have a sheet on your table that has recommended websites and online tools, because I know as parents you can be very busy, and sometimes when you're trying to cook dinner and do all of the things, you just need your child to be more independent in that way. So we gave some of those resources that you might be able to utilize in those times when you can't sit with them and beside them and do some of the other fun interactive things with them. But we just want to recommend that there's no app to replace your lap. So just read to your children. That's the biggest thing that we want to be as a takeaway this evening. And we'll be around. Maria, did you want to say anything else about the Jamestown Public Library before we leave?
You should visit. And also, not just let your children read to you and you read to them, let them see you read.
because I'm in the 5th grade where they've already put all this together, and we've got a lot of fun things in our world, and I want them to think reading's fun. So I need you to help them see that it is more fun than Fortnite. We can do this.
Absolutely. So thank you. We'll be around if you want individual questions, but just again, take the resources with you and have a great evening. Thank you so much for coming.